Hey, what's going on guys? Ace Trainer John here, and today we're going to be going over the Grandmaster exclusive legendary machine gun, the Swarm Adept. But before we jump into this, I asked if you want to keep up to date on all Destiny 2 news, information, leaks, tutorials, and more, that you go and subscribe to my channel. Otherwise, let's jump into it. So if you're not really aware at the moment, currently the Grandmaster Nightfalls are dropping Adept weapons. There's a total of 3 of these, the Palindrome, Swarm, and Shadow Price, which are on a weekly rotation. If you're just not good enough maybe to do a Grandmaster Nightfall, or you just don't have the time to do it, don't worry, you can still get the normal version of these weapons. The only difference between an Adept weapon and a non-Adept weapon is the fact that the Adept weapons not only get an extra stat boost when you masterwork them, but they also get access to exclusive mods. And there's actually one mod in particular that we'll talk about regarding the Swarm and why I think it's a good reason to go after the Swarm Adept. But first, let's actually talk about the perks on the Swarm. What perks do you want to go for? Now in this video, I'm only going to be talking about the PvE roles because in my opinion, this is really only a PvE weapon, and also the majority of the roles on this weapon are geared towards PvE. Now normally in these types of videos, I don't really recommend barrel or magazine perks because I feel like at least on the PC side of things, you can get away with not really caring about these 2 perk slots. However, I think if you have certain perks in these first 2 slots on the Swarm, it does actually make a difference. Now, one of the things I'd like to note about the Swarm machine gun is that it's a high impact frame machine gun, meaning it's going to be slow firing, high damage, and it's going to be a little bit jumpy when you shoot it. So in terms of barrel perks, I think you're going to want to aim for stuff that increases stability. So with that being said, I think the first perk I'm going to recommend in the barrel perk slot is polygonal rifling. If you're not sure what that does, it increases stability by 10 points. And even though that may not seem like a lot, it actually is a lot. However, when it comes to the magazine slot, I think you're going to want to really focus on either reload or increasing your ammo count. So with that being said, you actually got a lot of options in the magazine slot. So first up, we got Appended Mag, which is going to increase the magazine size by quite a bit. Then next up, we got Extended Mag, which actually decreases your reload by a bit, but it also increases your magazine by quite a bit. Something I forgot to mention is that this machine gun does have 2 pretty good reload perks that we'll get into a little bit here. So because of that is why I'm recommending things that could potentially lower your reload, because you can technically get away with it. However, if you're looking for something that's a little bit more than a magazine increase, but doesn't affect your reload at all in a negative way, then you can go for the Tactical Mag, which will increase your stability a little bit, give you a little bit increased reload, as well as it'll increase your magazine by a little bit. So you pretty much end up getting everything you want to be looking for in terms of a magazine perk. However, these are like minimal increases to those stats as compared to something like the Appended Mag, where you get a large increase to the magazine. Now the last reload perk I'd like to talk about is the Alloy Magazine, which makes it so your reload is faster when the magazine is empty. Pretty basic, pretty good perk. I personally like it, although a lot of people don't like it. Not entirely sure why. Again, at the end of the day, these barrel and magazine perks are all subjective and up to personal taste. Now with that being said, let's go ahead and move on to the third perk slot, aka the first real perk slot. I think there's 2 perks that I'm going to recommend here, and that being Surplus and Outlaw. However, which one you choose depends on what you're going to pair it up with in the next perk slot, which I actually have another 2 perks to recommend, and that being One for All and Dragonfly. Now in my personal opinion, you can mix and match these 4 perks. However, I think you're going to get the best results when combining Surplus and One for All or Outlaw and Dragonfly. And which role you choose to go with sort of depends what you're going to be using this machine gun for. Now, I actually own a Outlaw Dragonfly role. In my personal opinion, as much as I think the Outlaw and Dragonfly combination is very fun and cool to use, it doesn't really work well in high-end content like Grandmaster Nightfalls, where usually you would be using a machine gun. However, that definitely doesn't mean that it's a bad role. I think it's still very good. I think if you're going to use machine guns like the Swarm in more casual content, then yeah, Outlaw Dragonfly is definitely going to be the role for you. However, like I said earlier, when it comes to the harder stuff with contests enabled like Day 1 raids and Grandmaster Nightfalls, I think the play here is going to be Surplus and One for All. Because not only with One for All, you're going to be easily proccing that 30% damage increase very easily, which will allow you to mow down ads super fast. But also generally in this high-end content, you're going to be doing stuff that usually allows you to get a little bit of ability spam, or maybe most of the time in this high-end content, you're going to be, sitting on abilities. And so because of that, that's why I prefer Surplus over Outlaw, because I'm pretty sure you can get a higher reload with Surplus. On top of that, Surplus does increase stability as well as reload speed, and you don't have to rely on getting a headshot kill like Outlaw. Now, because we would be using the One for All in Surplus, and because we're using the Adept Swarm, this opens up the opportunity to equip the brand new Adept mod, Adept Big Ones. If you're not sure what Adept Big Ones does, basically it takes Major Spec and Boss Spec and smashes it into one mod. And so the 7% damage increase to bosses and majors and stuff, it's still going to be exactly the same. The damage increase is still going to be the same as a boss spec or a major spec. However, the advantage here is you're not only getting that 7% damage to bosses, but you're also going to get it to majors. So on top of getting that really easy one for all active going, and then stacking on top of that the Adept Big Ones, you're going to be able to mow down not only red bars super fast like you would normally do with a machine gun, but you'll also be able to mow down yellow bars super fast, as compared to something like the Outlaw and Dragonfly role, where you basically need to have Dragonfly spec in order to make it feel relatively powerful, where with One for All and Big One spec, you're basically just going to be mowing down stuff, like I said, with no problem. At the end of the day, your god roll, it's pretty subjective, but personally I think I would choose the Surplus One for All roll with Adept Big One spec for harder contest enabled content, and then I would choose Outlaw Dragonfly with Dragonfly spec for more casual content like strikes. Anyways, I apologize for posting this at the last day that this is going to be farmable basically, but don't worry, it'll be available again in 2 weeks from the making of this video. With that being said, this was John. That was my breakdown of what the god roll would be for the Adept Swarm machine gun. I'll try to be better and have a earlier video when it comes to the shadow price later this week. I just didn't really have time last week because I was, I made a whole bunch of videos and then I had to actually farm for a good roll because I didn't really have a good base version of the gun. With that being said, this was John. If you enjoyed the video, go ahead and give it a like. If you want to see more videos like this, go ahead and subscribe. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next one. Peace.